Hey guys, and welcome back to another episode of the Hope Sessions podcast with me, Jerry D. You know the drill. You know what it's about. Another episode, which means another guest, which means another great conversation. And I'm really encouraged, and I'm also refreshed by the fact that this guy has agreed to come on. If you're watching it on YouTube, you're able to see his wonderful face. But if you're tuning in on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, wherever you tune in, don't worry, you're not able to see his face because that's an audio platform. But I've got the great privilege of not only saying, is this man my friend? Not only is he my brother in Christ, but he's also my housemate, which means that he has seen me on days where most of the world hasn't seen me. He's seen me in my most unflattering moments. With all that said, I really believe that you guys are in for a great time of encouragement today. This guy, it gives me a great privilege to announce him as the wonderful, the notorious, the incredible Nathan Gear. Nathan, welcome to the podcast, my man.
Thanks, Jerry. I appreciate that. You say a lot of good things, man. Thanks. Not all of them are true. But
hey, if you don't believe him about yourself, I believe him about you. So that's good enough, man.
Yeah, sound right. Thanks.
Brilliant. What we're going to do, man, we're going to kick it off. And this is, I call it the rapid fire round, but literally every guest I've had on, it's never rapid fire. It's just like a casual round. So we'll call it the casual round, where I'm going to ask you a series of questions so that me and our listeners can get to know the wonderful Nathan better. Are you ready, my man?
Nice. I've been looking forward to this, Jerry.
Oh, and he's drinking the water. Oh, look at this fella.
Yeah.
He's being all healthy and all.
You know me,
yeah. Do you know what? I'll take it up a level. I'll have a drink of Coke. Right, Nathan. Some of these questions have two parts, okay? So the first one is, who's your favorite team in sports, in soccer, we'll say?
Oh, it would definitely be United, I'd say. Yeah.
Yeah. And would I be right in saying that Bayern Munich would probably be a very close second?
Yeah, I like Bayern Munich too. I think they're kind of a classy team. Sure, I have one of the jerseys as well.
Yeah, if you wear the jersey, you wear the name.
Yeah. But no, I think they're a good team.
Yeah. Off the back of that, then, so we all have that one team that when we hear their name, we feel like imagining that we have their head in our hands and we just want to rip them apart. Who's your least favorite team? When you hear them, you cringe.
Oh, City, I think.
Oh,
Man City.
Okay, so you said Man City. I thought you were probably going to say Liverpool because Liverpool being our biggest rivals.
Yes, I know, but I think Liverpool. I like a team if they're actually playing like a team.
Yeah.
I think City are a money team, and they've bought in all their talent. Whereas Liverpool actually have a good manager who actually organizes them well as a team. Okay, I'm not a fan. I don't really like them, but I think they're a better team as when you look at a team in that sense, So I actually think, City. I don't like City.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah, I mean, it's weird for me as a Man United fan myself. I would much rather see Man City win the league, which I believe they will, than Liverpool. Yeah, I would always go for City before I would go for Liverpool, regardless of when they're playing,
Okay. That's interesting. Yeah.
And the next one I have, man, is you're a foodie. You're someone who likes food. Well, obviously everyone likes food, okay? So what's your favorite meal that you get to have?
Oh, that's a tough one because there's so many good meals.
Okay, give me your top three.
That's a tough one. Okay. I love a good lasagna. A nice lasagna is very good. Actually, there's a dish my mother does. It's called tarragon chicken. It's really nice, really good. I like that. And it's kind of a creamy dish with tarragon in it and chicken, and she does rice with it. It's very, very, very tasty. Right. It's a nice dish to come home to after a day of work. You know what I mean? Nice and warm. It's like comfort food almost. Yeah. And then there's my third one. What do I like? I do love steak. I love steak. A good steak. Yeah, steak dinner is absolutely fantastic with garlic butter, and then maybe chips or floury potatoes. Oh, divine. And some nice roast veg. That's amazing. Yeah.
You've literally just got me hungry. I ate about 20 minutes ago, and now I'm already contemplating which one could I have today as my option. I probably won't have any of them, but that's just besides the point, right? And then so you've mentioned your 3 favorite dishes, but then off the back of that, do you have a dish that maybe that you despise, that you're not a very big fan of?
Um.
Maybe growing up, when your
Oh
mom would make
yes.
a dinner and you'd be like, yeah,
Yeah.
thanks, mom. And you'd be looking for the
Yeah.
dog to give the dog the dinner.
Okay. There was one thing I used to hate cabbage. I
Okay.
used to nearly be getting sick when I was eating it. I boiled cabbage. I don't mind it so much now, but I hated it when I was a kid. Another one that I don't like. Did you ever have chicken coronation? It's kind of
No.
like it's a different, yeah. Never. If you ever hear someone offering you chicken coronation, just say no,
Wow.
thank you. Not today. I
Brilliant.
want to live to see tomorrow.
Wow. And then
I know.
so you mentioned about the cabbage, right? And
Yeah.
you mentioned about you didn't like it. Is it because of the texture or is it because of the flavor or
I'd say, to be honest, I'm not fond of Brussels sprouts either. So maybe it's just
okay.
they're kind of similar in a way, but I suppose a similar looking kind of vegetable. But I just didn't like the taste or the texture, especially the texture, especially when it's boiled. It's
Yeah.
fairly nasty. But it's actually not too bad when you put it in the oven. You know what I mean, and do it like roast it with some, or you know what I mean, or in coleslaw. You know, it's different. But
Yeah.
I'd say the texture and a bit of the taste, I wasn't fond of. You know,
Wow.
but yeah,
Well, I
interesting.
can actually say, right? So you know me well enough, right? There's 2 things that I love, and you can testify to this as a housemate. It's ketchup and Coca-Cola,
Oh yes,
right?
true.
And there's one thing that I don't eat, and it's vegetables because I don't like them. They're horrible. But if you put like a casserole or a stew or a shepherd's pie, where the vegetables they're kind
Yes,
of there's a
mixed in
sauce
it.
there or something. It doesn't taste as bad. It tastes actually quite nice. But
Yeah,
having
yeah.
vegetables on their own, not a chance for me.
No, yeah. They're not everyone's cup of tea.
Yeah,
Definitely not. No,
absolutely.
but yeah.
Because even I remember with my mom growing up, right? So especially on the Sunday dinner. So Sunday dinner in my house growing up is a big deal. Like you have the whole lot. The plate is bigger than your belly.
Mhm.
And my mom would always hide the carrots and the turnip underneath my potatoes. But I always mash down my potatoes, just as a way to. And I'd always mash them. I'm like, dude, there's always a weird color off the potatoes. And my mom's like, no, it's fine. They're fine. If you mash them down, they'll be fine. And one day I just
So,
lifted them up, and it was like my mom was trying to like poison me.
I'd
I
say
felt
that was a good fun Sunday dinner. I'd say when,
it
when
was,
that
yeah.
was
There was a
discovered.
couple of sharp looks thrown at her. All right, I'll definitely say that. But obviously, I've forgiven her for that. And Nathan, so I've mentioned, man, that you're a foodie, um, and you're a big fan of pastries.
Oh yes, yeah.
So I can give you a pastry in 2 seconds. One pastry only now. Don't be giving me 50 because I know you can name 50. I'm giving you a pastry in the next 2 seconds. Which one is it and why?
Okay. That the almond croissant from Natural Foods Bakery in Cork, it was actually top notch.
Wow.
Whatever they do have a croissant, and then they kind of open it up, fill it with almond paste or something like that, and then they throw it back in the oven, and it just gets all kind of buttery, and
Okay.
especially when it's warm, it's absolutely fantastic.
Wow.
Yeah, yeah.
And then off the back of that, so I'm going to the shop. I'm gonna buy you a pastry, but little
Okay.
do I know, I bought you a pastry the one pastry that you don't like, that you want to throw it in the bin as soon as you get it. I give you the pastry. Which pastry is that pastry? The one that you do not like, the one that you don't like the taste of?
Um, I wouldn't be too fond of eclairs. I couldn't say I don't like any pastry, but eclairs, if there's too much cream in them, they
Oh
have
yeah,
to be you have to eat them and you have to eat them fresh. They're the
yeah,
best fresh. But if they're a little bit older, like maybe the cream, the cream has to be very fresh in them, and then they're nice.
yeah.
Yeah. But eclairs, I wouldn't go for eclairs. I don't think I'd like if I saw a selection of pastries, the eclair would probably be the last one I go for in the box, that type of way.
Right,
Yeah.
yeah. Because
But
don't get me wrong, I like cream. Cream is
mhm.
nice, You
Oh
know,
yeah,
but the problem is, unfortunately, with a lot of these pastries, or even the likes of a hot chocolate now, or
yeah,
they just plow the cream on, and sometimes it's actually overpowering to the point
yeah.
where
It
your
is.
stomach feels very bloated.
Yeah, it's heavy. Like yeah. Actually,
Yeah,
I was never really a big fan of milk or cream when I was a kid, but I don't mind cream now so much. But
yeah.
yeah, I think too much cream is just overpowers the rest of the pastry. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
You have to have that fine balance.
absolutely, absolutely, and no better man to know those facts than you, huh?
That's it. I've had my
And
fill of pastries in my day.
yeah, and you know, Nathan, man, in a lot of people's lives, music plays quite a big part. You
Oh
know, in
yes,
most people's everyday life. Do you have a favorite music genre? Because I don't even know if you listen to music or not.
I do. I listen to music. I used to listen to a lot before. Like I have Spotify.
Sure.
So if I have a song that I'm listening to, let's say you put on a song on radio or something, and I like a song, I just
Yeah.
hit like, and it goes to my list. And then
Ah,
from my list, then I make just playlists, if you know
yeah,
what I mean, just to separate it down. Like,
sure.
but I wouldn't say it'd be one particular genre. But if a song is good, I'd like it. But I wouldn't say I'm a kind of a pop person. I kind of like more sometimes slow stuff. It depends on the mood, really. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Yeah, like sometimes if you're doing a bit of sport or something, like you want something a bit fast paced, something to get
that's right.
the adrenaline levels going. But
Yeah,
yeah, I wouldn't have a particular genre, but
yeah.
I do listen. I like listening.
And I love it because the next question I suppose, the statement I'm gonna say, man, is you're a runner, which means you love running, and I love running too. You
Hmm.
know, and isn't it amazing how music can motivate you when you're running?
Definitely, yeah,
With no
definitely.
music, you're running and you can run for maybe a 5-10 minutes, and you're like, oh, this is a bit boring. But as soon as there's music on, when there's a good song that comes on, suddenly it's like, or a Rocky song comes on, you're
Yeah,
imagining that you're
you
Rocky
pick up the pace.
Balboa in Russia, and the pace just like Usain Bolt all of a sudden,
You'd be ready to hit a flight of stairs.
way backwards. And then off the back of that, Nathan, so you've mentioned about songs that you like, but we all have genres of music that we don't like. My genre that I can't understand or like is opera. What about
No,
you?
yeah.
Do you have a genre that you're not a particular fan of?
Kind of heavy metal or really heavy rock, that type of stuff, I wouldn't be too fond of.
Okay.
Um, or I don't know. Yeah, I wouldn't be heavy rock. I wouldn't listen to too much. I like rock, light rock, but I wouldn't listen to the heavy stuff. I just find it
Yeah.
hard to listen to sometimes. And so, what else? I don't know. I think that would be the. I think that'd be the main thing. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, at least now I know when I need to wake Nathan up, I know what songs to play. So thank you for telling me that.
Tell me. I better put those. I better find a set of earplugs. So
Yeah, or just okay, Google, set the alarm for 5:40 in the morning to play heavy rock for Nathan.
yeah. Are you
um,
sure you want to do that, Terry?
well, I mean, yeah, because I'll be up early myself, so it's no different to me.
Did you say, "Hey Google"? There, it just answered you.
Oh, did he? Oh, my headphones were like, wow. Okay, Google, cancel. Don't cancel me, but cancel the request, please. And Nathan, growing up, man, I know there's one thing I've learned about you in the 2 to 3 years that I've known you.
Google is just rattling on there a bit. Sorry, Jerry.
You're all right. Thank God I can't hear him because I'd end up having Google on the podcast. So we should stop saying okay and Google in the same sentence. Stop. Sorry. So growing up, man. Sorry, I lost my train of thought there because our friend in the hallway was getting a bit excited there. There you go. We call him the friend in the hallway for the lack
Can
of
be
better
quite rude
term.
sometimes.
Correct. Interrupting our conversation, right? And there's one thing I've learned about you, man, in the 2 to 3 years that I've known you. You're a very big people person, but more specifically a family person. I love always hearing about you being back in Waterford with your family and just sharing about stories growing up with your family. And you would have went on holidays with your family growing up, and you were even on holiday with your sister and um my brain's gone numb now. Samuel, in the summer,
Yes.
you went to
Yes.
Greece, right? So I wanted to ask you, was there a favorite family holiday that you went on? And if so, why was that particular holiday your most favorite?
Um, We went on like good shoe, and then you have good memories with some and not so good memories with others. As you're going up, like
Yeah.
you go through different phases, like you'd be fighting and kicking. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Throwing straps or whatever. You know what I mean? The one I really really enjoyed was actually with family was we went to Croatia there about I don't know, it was nearly 4 years ago, 5 years
Okay.
ago, 4 years ago I think it was, and it was like like we hadn't gone on a holiday for together for ages,
Yeah.
so it was kind of like a different vibe because we all like maybe the last time we all went together was when I was 16 or something like that. So then I was 24 then, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it was a bit of a gap between the big family holiday and we went, and it was kind of a different vibe, but it was
Yeah.
really enjoyable. We all got on and we had good crack, you know what I mean? And yeah, I'd say Croatia there, and it's a lovely country as well, nice way. We rented out an Airbnb for 2 weeks, and it was good crack. We rented a car, we drove all over the place, and
Yeah.
it was kind of when you spend time close together with your family like that, when as you grow up, you live your own lives, but you're thrown back into a kind of one place for 2 weeks, very close contact. But it was a good
Yeah.
way to get to know each other and how you're getting on, that type of way. So that
That's
I'd
right.
say that was really enjoyable. I'd love to do it again.
Yeah.
Definitely,
I
yeah.
can definitely testify to that, man, just about how when you get older, family time becomes more precious, which means the family holidays are more enjoyable.
Yeah, exactly. You appreciate it more
Yeah.
when you get, yeah.
Because there's a liberty that when I go on holidays with my family, there's certain places they want to go, and I'm like, I've no interest in shopping. I would much
Mhm.
rather go to the local safari or a water park, or so
Mhm.
you can kind of split off for the day, and then in the evening you come back again for food or just to
Yeah,
chill out for the evening. So there's a great freedom when you're older on family holidays, just to kind of not feel like you have to be dragged along to all the
yeah, exactly.
excursions and
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah.
You know?
Yeah, that's nice. All right. Yeah,
Yeah,
but you can have your own bit of space if you wanted as well,
yeah.
which we all need.
Oh, hey, absolutely, man. And I want to ask you the next question, but I already know the answer. So I'm going to ask you the question and I'm going to answer it for you. And then you're going to explain to me why I'm right. Okay.
All right.
Nathan, are you a morning or night person? He's a morning person because every morning when Nathan gets up, I either get up as well or as he leaves the house, I'm just after getting up. So, Nathan, I suppose the question I want to ask you, right, is have you always been a morning person or
I think so. Not like I think so. Yeah, like I don't remember not like mornings. I'm better in the morning. Let's say
okay?
I don't think anyone likes getting up. You know what I mean? Or getting out of
Yeah,
bed. But I am actually better in the morning. Fresh, feel more alert and fresh in the morning.
yeah,
But the evening times, I just fade. It's
yeah,
like you only get half the nation that you got in the morning. That type of
yeah,
way.
wow.
Yeah, but so about 9:30, after around 9:30 or 10, I start, yeah, thinking of bed.
Wow. Yeah, which is crazy because I'm only starting to wake up at that time.
Yeah, yeah, you're winding up at that time.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I'm winding down.
But I
Yeah,
love it because in the morning, man, I'm not a morning person, but if I have to be up for work at that, no problem. I'll be up and I'll get on with it, no problem whatsoever. Um, but in our house, I think you would testify to this as well. I'm known as probably the prankster, the guy who likes to laugh a lot, tell jokes, because I'm the
yeah.
funniest guy around. I know I am.
Oh
I
yeah,
don't need anyone to
that
tell
goes
me I'm
without
funny.
saying.
And usually I'd be the one who'd like tell jokes and I'd put my hand on your shoulder, go, ah, whatever. But there was this one morning in particular, and I'll never. It was actually in October. I'm not sure the day or the time. The time
Mhm.
it was probably 6 o'clock in the morning. I was literally just fresh out of the bed. My eyes had barely opened, and you were in the hallway. No, no, sorry, you weren't in the hallway. No, no, I was coming down the stairs, and you came up from behind me and put your hands on my shoulder and went, "Good morning to you, Jerry." And I was like, "Nathan, stop." And I was that morning, I woke up on the wrong side of the bed. I was just not in the mood for anyone because I hadn't woken up yet. And
Oh
then you
yeah.
turned around. I don't know if I frightened you or if it was just the way I responded so quickly. And then you said to me, "Have a great day." And I just went, "Thanks." And I just walked off. And I'll never forget the conviction I felt for the next half an hour, even though I'd barely woken up. So I suppose I want to take this moment to apologize to you on the podcast for that morning when I frightened you when you tried to frighten me.
Don't worry, I didn't even notice, man. I didn't even notice. No, don't worry, there's no need for apology.
Okay, so I'll retract that story.
Yeah,
So,
do
but
it. You do that.
but
Yeah.
it's funny that you say about how your brain kind of begins to shut down at 9:30 of that, because in our house, you know, you've got Sean, you've got Dan, and myself. Like
All night
we
house.
don't go to sleep early. Like legit, if I'm in bed before 1, it's probably because I'm exhausted or because I'm sick.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
because
It's
we
not
obviously
like you.
watch the NFL, we watch the NBA, which are usually 1 o'clock in the morning, 3 o'clock in the morning. But yet you're tucked up in bed, like with your little teddy bear or whatever you sleep with. I don't know, and you're
Yeah.
just so snuggled, ready to go. You know, so it's
Yeah.
funny the dynamics in our house at times. You know.
Yeah. But it's
Yeah.
good. You need both types of people, you know.
Oh yeah, man, absolutely. Do you know? So Nathan, that was the not so rapid fire round.
Yes, okay.
And I love the fact that you're enjoying it because I'm enjoying it as well. We're just talking, man.
Yeah.
And this is the Hope Sessions podcast. So every guest that comes on has a story of how the person of hope, who is Jesus, has
Mm-hmm.
came into their life, how he found them.
Mm-hmm.
And I know your story because we talk all the time, but maybe for a lot of our listeners, they know of you, but they may not know you. So would
Yeah.
you share a bit about your upbringing and how the Lord has saved you and where he has brought you to now?
Yeah, okay. Cool.
Brilliant.
So basically, yeah, I grew up like in a Christian household. Um, but like I'll say I have a
Yeah.
few parts of my journey that I'll share with you.
Yeah.
But my first real thing that I remember with getting to know the Lord was actually when I was very young. I was actually starting to learn my bike, learn how to ride my bicycle, you know.
Yeah.
And I had the stabilizers. I don't know if you know
Yeah.
the stabilizers. Yeah. So I had actually gone down to one stabilizer. That's how. So you're kind of rocking, kind of leaning to the right if the stabilizer is on the right, you know. And
Yeah.
I was, but I found it very difficult to kind of come away, take that stabilizer off.
Yeah.
So anyway, actually one night I actually had a dream. The Lord gave me a dream. I know it's crazy how like the Lord comes to people in different ways, but he
Yeah.
came to me in a dream and I just dreamt that you'd be cycling along without both stabilizers. I'd fall off once and then I'd get up and I'd be able to cycle away like no problem. And
Yeah.
that had happened the very next day. And I actually could not believe it when it
Wow.
happened. Yeah, but so I don't know. That was the first thing, and like it's something small, like, but it always sticks in my mind, you know.
That's right.
And then yeah, so basically I grew up like in a Christian household, going to church, you know, going through school, going through the different, you know, school. You go through different difficulties and stuff
Yeah.
like that, and yeah, and then I suppose I was going to college. Then I went to college in WIT and I was studying away. But you know, like when you're a young fella growing up as well, like you start seeing what the world is like, and
Yeah.
I would say that I started struggling in my mind about different things. You know what I mean? And actually, like the way mobile phones are now and everything, like the internet. I had struggles in those areas. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I was like, but like it was all kind of secret kind of struggles, you know what I mean? You'd be caught, and I don't think like lads, they don't talk too much, you know what I mean? Or you'd be
Yeah.
afraid to talk, you know what I mean? So
That's right.
I was just like feeling like I was just like faking it, you know what I mean? I was
Yeah.
faking it till you make it kind of job, you know, that
Yeah.
type of
Yeah.
way,
Yeah. Yeah.
hoping that it was go right sometime. But but I knew the Lord was there. I had a relationship, like I was able to, I was speaking to Jesus or whatever, and talking like whatever problems you have, you bring them to him and
Yeah.
stuff like that. And but I remember then one particular instance actually when I qualified for my engineering degree,
Yeah.
I got a job for a few months and that finished up, and I had been working in the butchers, and I went back to the butchers for a while,
Hmm.
and it just wasn't the same when I went back. Like it just was like, yeah, I've tasted bigger and better things, you know, that type of way.
Yeah.
And I was like, I have to kind of move on a bit. So I was praying about it, and then I just felt like oh, do you know what? And I felt like the Lord was kind of leading me, and I said I'd start working with my dad for a while.
Yeah.
It's because my dad's an electrician. I said, you know what? At least it's in the same field as what I've studied,
Yeah.
in the electrical field, you know. So
Yeah.
I said, yeah, I left the butchers and I started working with my dad for a while. And
Yeah.
literally, like about 2 weeks later, there was this company that I'd been looking at, and I just saw them. I said, oh, I could never, like about a year before that, I said, I'd never get in with them, I was like, they're impossible. They're too big. They're
Yeah.
too well known. And I was like, I just wouldn't get there, And so anyway, then I saw an application on LinkedIn, and
Yeah.
I said, look, I'll go for that. So, and I'll try it. And then the like I was I went and I applied online. But then I said, I had a kind of a in my mind when I was going for jobs and stuff. I always wanted to go in. I said, if you go in personally, they have a face to remember the CV. It's not just a piece of paper anymore,
Yeah.
And
That's
it
right.
also shows that you put in a bit of effort. So I had my CV, and I was like, will I kind of make it sound a bit better than it is, lie on it, pretty much.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I was like, just to get myself the job, because
Yeah.
everyone does it. People nearly recommend it, And I said, yeah.
Yeah.
And I had it all done up, printed off, and I was going to go with my dad with the CV, and then I had the CV, and then I just felt, nah, don't do that. Just go and put what you've done on it. You've done what you've done. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So I went back, I did that. I went in and handed in the CV as it was, with the small amount of experience I had.
Yeah.
And then I actually got the job,
Wow.
like about 2 weeks later, and I couldn't believe it. And that was a point in my life that I knew, that the Lord was still leading me, even though I was struggling with lots of stuff in my life, different things in my head and whatever, And I was just that just really stuck with me. So anyway, um, there was then an opportunity came to go to an international conference in Germany, a Christian conference.
Okay.
And a few of my friends in the church, Samuel, he had
Yeah.
gone to once or twice beforehand, a few years before, and I just never got around to going because I always had something on or work, or I wasn't really interested anyway, you know what I mean?
Sure.
But so anyway, I said, to be fair, Samuel kind of talked me into it, you know what I mean? Come on, let's go, you know what I mean? And he said, you never know, you might find a wife over there, that type of way. So I said, yeah, that's a good point, I go,
Yeah.
so, and but then work was getting very busy, and I was like, you know what? I said to myself, if work tell me that they need me, I'll stay. I won't bother going to the conference. No big deal. You know what I mean? And so anyway, that was it. And they didn't say it, so I was going.
Yeah.
But it's hard to believe, the things that happened. Then I was going up. I went up, and I because everything was trying to stop you. So we're on the way up to the airport. We went through to the luggage area, and hadn't I left my wallet and my passport in the car, so we had to get the bus back to the car park, pick up the wallet and the passport, and then actually go back to the airport and do the whole thing. And it was a bit of a rush, a bit hectic. And actually then, with all the panic and everything, I got over there and I realized I went on in Germany. I realized I left my wallet. I lost my wallet, left it somewhere in the airport afterwards. But I was out, So, but I was like, oh, this is ridiculous. Why did I come to this place? You know what I mean? Yeah. This is more hassle than it's worth. That's what I was thinking in my own head, But anyway, I just cancelled my cards online, and I said, yeah, leave it at that. Yeah. It is what it is. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I was there, and I said, when I went over, I was really kind of seeking, I said, I was in it. So basically it was a week-long conference, and I was like, there was obviously the music and the preaching, and the preacher, actually funny, when I saw the preacher, and I always, in my mind, I always feel that people should be kind of dressed up going to church or whatever. This was just and if you're not dressed up, you're not really putting in the effort. That was in my head. And I saw this preacher coming in, and he had flip-flops on, kind of sandals, and in a t-shirt, and I was like, look at this guy, is he even serious about this? You know what I mean? This is what I said, and I was like, yeah, I don't know, I might take this with a pinch of salt, I said. You know what I mean? But anyway, then he was but anyway, he actually, because I went to church, you know what I mean? But in my head, then he said, in my head, it was all, you don't have questions. And he said, this week, I'm going to talk about what it is to be a Christian and what it means, And I was like, okay. He piqued my interest. Like I said, this is good now, you know what I mean? So anyway, he went on and gave about the message about of grace, and what Jesus did for us over the week, over the sessions during the week, and like it was really resonating with me. Some of the stuff, like I was like, oh, it felt like he was speaking directly to me, so
Yeah.
it was like, and it was convicting, you know what I mean? And there'd be times you spend on your own during the conference, and I was like, oh Lord, I really need your help,
Yeah.
I can't go on. Like I really was at my wit's end. I was like, if I go back, like I can't go on like this. I was really like, this is not going well. You know what I mean? I was
Yeah.
putting on a good cover, but to me, it was good cover. I don't know what it looked like, but yeah, I was like, this can't go on.
Yeah.
So anyway, then I was there, and the last meeting, the last kind of service, it was the night service, the second last one actually, and he preached about like what Jesus did for us on the cross and how he actually loves us, like, and it really just resonated with me, like, and the Lord was really speaking to me, you know what I mean? And
Yeah.
then he said at the end, we leave a moment like for the Holy Spirit to move, and we're going to play some music, just read your Bible, listen to what the Lord has to say. And I just like broke down in tears, like, because
Wow.
I just knew, like, you know what I mean, the Lord, like what he'd done. And I'd never spoken to anyone about my problems, things, struggles with the internet or anything like that before. And I was just like, it just all got to me. And then like they were playing actually, Oceans, the song Oceans.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that, I love that song because at that point, like the Lord was just speaking to me like that he will lead me on waters, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And all that type of thing. And I was just like, wow, and that's really how I got to know the Lord.
Yeah.
And I came back, like, I was just so happy. It's the happiest ever in my life at
Yeah.
that point. I just was so thrilled. Like, it's just like I got a new injection of life into me. It was like I had adrenaline, just a complete freedom,
Yeah.
absolute complete freedom. And actually, like I was getting interested in, like, I don't know, just different. I had different interests and stuff like that in life, but really none of them actually mattered. I actually like lost interest in a lot of kind of trivial things that I used to be
Yeah.
keeping up, because I just like was like, these things don't really matter anymore. You know what I mean? And yeah, but then like it was since then, like it has been a journey. Like, you feel, at that point you feel like nothing else can go wrong in my life, you know what I mean? And you're like, wow, this is the best ever, you know what I mean? It's only
Yeah.
onwards and upwards from here. But like there's been plenty of downhills, bad downhills from there. But
That's right.
really, as I go on, like I really feel like the Lord, you see more and more of his grace, how deep it actually
Mm.
goes. It's not just the surface level, but it
Yeah.
actually goes deeper and deeper. And like he covers so much, so much. And I tell you from experience, he covers so much. It's
Yeah.
unbelievable, you know what I mean? And like you
Yeah.
can only, when you actually think about it, it actually makes you emotional, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah,
well,
man.
for me, that's, yeah, but
Yeah.
it is actually, yeah. And so basically, like that's how the Lord has been in my life, and he's guided every step. And even times like when you feel like, where am I? Even since, like, what am I doing? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And maybe a year later, you see like how the Lord has guided you, how he's put people in your life around you, that like it all has value and it all has meaning, you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
yeah, that's my testimony so far.
Yeah, man.
And of course, a big moment was Cassia, meeting Cassia as well. I was,
Woo!
I was, I was praying a long time for to meet someone,
Yeah, man.
and Cassia, my girlfriend. But like I was like praying, like obviously it's everyone's kind of Sarah, but it just happened at the right time, isn't the right? Like the Lord had me in the right place at the right time. You know what I
That's
mean?
right.
And it was good, yeah. So yeah, that's my testimony.
Do you know what, man? I'm sitting here, right? And I mean, I feel like I'm getting to know you all over again.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
legit, even though I talk to you every day, every time I see you, sometimes conversation is longer than others because you're going to
Mhm.
church or work or whatever.
Yeah,
But I'm sitting here and I suppose I'm just being reminded, man, of just the many different ways that the Lord has a way of getting a hold of us.
yeah.
And I'm not sure of the chapter reference, but I believe it's in Isaiah where it talks about not being afraid that even when you go through deep waters,
Hmm.
that he is there. I love the fact that it says even when. It doesn't say if.
Hmm.
So
Yes.
the Lord is not how would I say, blind to the reality of his life, reality of our
Hmm.
lives, the difficulties that come with it, but rather he's the greater reality in the midst of our own reality is that he's
Yeah.
with us in the deep waters. And
Hmm.
I love the fact, man, that you mentioned on Cassia, because the fact that you mentioned about you were praying for a partner for a long time, man, and I suppose there was many times there where you would have doubted the Lord to be able to provide, and it takes you back to Ecclesiastes chapter 3, right? There is a time under the sun for everything, and
Yes.
I personally, I think you can kind of testify to this, right? I love love. I love
You do,
seeing
for
people
sure.
in love. I love seeing people in a relationship together. I love seeing them like just embracing each other because I look forward to experiencing that myself one day, right? And I love seeing you and Cassia together, particularly because you're so gentle with her. You're so reassuring to her how you care for her, man. And this is like people want to know. Like, I mean, my first interaction to seeing you and Cassia talking was last year. I went to see Cork play Galway in the hurling.
Yes.
Remember at Park of
Yeah, I
Queen?
remember. Yeah.
Me, you, Isaac, uh, Khan, and a few of the other guys on my brain is Douglas as well. Douglas was there,
Oh, yes,
and
Douglas. Yeah,
at the
that's true.
time, I wasn't. I knew you liked her. And I knew
Yes.
you were on your game. You were trying to get conversation going, but I
hmm
wasn't sure, I suppose, as to was she interested as well. So would you
Yes.
let us know, man, how did the whole thing happen between you liking her and then asking her on a date? Because a lot of people may not know, but as men, the hardest thing in the world is putting yourself out there because of what if you're rejected? What if
Yeah,
you're
it
shut
is.
down? You know, and it's your mind can play a lot of games. So what was it like, man, entering into a relationship with Cassia?
Yeah.
Early,
So,
I suppose.
yeah. Okay. Well, I met her in the church. Like, so
Yeah.
basically, the first time I met her was a Wednesday night, and I better
Wow.
take a drink now because long story. No, no,
I'll
I'm
do
just.
I'll do a quick improv here. Wednesday night, get to midweek service. You might just find your wife. Back to Nathan.
I like it. um, but anyway, I it was after the service,
Yeah.
and I was actually speaking to Pastor Nick. Just before you go into it, just as you enter the sanctuary, that
Oh
area
yeah,
is
the
like
lobby
lovely.
area. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and um, we were talking, and I just noticed him kind of looking over, and then he said, "Go over there now and talk to those girls there and say, yeah,
I love it.
matchmaker number one."
Shout out to Pastor Nick, you absolute legend.
And anyway, but he was saying, bring them and try invite them to the young adults and make sure they're connected and stuff. I was like, oh yeah, yeah, and he actually said, no, seriously, do it now because it's important.
Yeah.
So anyway, um, I went over and tried to talk to them and introduce myself, like, and
Yeah.
so just invite them, and that was kind of the first meeting, and then there was a bit of a language difficulty, a small bit. So
Sure.
actually, Kira was there, and
Yeah.
she knows Portuguese, so she was able to speak to him, whatever. But then yeah, so that was the first time we met, and then after that, she came to the young adults, I think it was, a few times, and different services. She was
Yeah.
there, and then one day, I was giving some people a lift home, and I gave Cassie a lift home as well, and she was telling me how like she was new and in Ireland and all the rest, and that
Yeah.
she found the buses difficult, and
Yeah.
I was like, oh yeah, I said I felt sorry for her a little bit, because
Yeah.
I know buses in Ireland aren't too reliable,
Yeah.
but anyway, so yeah, then I kind of got chatting to her a bit, and I kind of, we were kind of friendly, I
Yeah.
liked her a bit, and I said, you know what, I'll invite her to a few things, to me,
Mm.
suss things out a bit, see what
Yeah.
how she is, see how we get on.
Yeah.
And I thought we kind of got on fairly well. And actually, I was so close. I don't think I even told her this. I don't think I might have told my sister this, but
Okay.
we weren't going out or anything, but it was coming up to Valentine's Day, and Valentine's Day, like you
Yeah.
want to have someone or whatever, and we weren't
Yeah.
together at
Yeah.
this stage or anything. There was
Yeah.
nothing, nothing serious and nothing said. But I was so tempted just to buy a Valentine's Day card and a bunch of flowers and just leave them at her door, and
Oh,
not let her know. I don't know. I was just so close to it, but I didn't do it.
there's
But I
nothing
didn't
wrong
have
with
to. I
that.
didn't.
But
I didn't have
yeah.
I didn't have to in the end anyway, thank God. But yeah, so anyway, then we just got to know each other. We went to that hurling match, and
Yeah.
I invited her to meet some other friends and stuff like that. And Samuel actually popped down one time before we were together, and he met her, the young adults. Samuel's a good friend of mine, so you know what I mean. And then I one Friday, it was a Friday, and I kind of felt a bit brave. And I said, do you know what? I'll invite her out for a bit of pizza or takeaway or something.
Well done.
So I said it to her, and I said, do you want to, because we were texting a bit and whatever. So I said, would you be interested in going for a bit of pizza or takeaway? I said, I'm going. Would you like to join me? I said,
hey, I love it. Smooth.
yeah. So it wasn't like too in your face. It was something I was doing. If she wanted to join me, she could, you know what I mean?
Brilliant.
So she actually couldn't. And I was like, okay. And I said, how about some other time during the week? And she said, yeah, sure, maybe, why not? Yeah. So I said, I pinned down a date, and I said, we'll next Friday, I said, we'll go. Yeah. And I knew she liked Japanese food because I'd been doing my homework, And,
hey, I love it. Take notes, lads. Do your homework.
And I invited her to, we went to a Japanese restaurant in Cork, and it was good. Then we went up to, I don't know, there's a park, kind of small little park area up. There's a big view of the city. I don't know, I forget the name of it. It's a steep slope in it.
At the top of Patrick's Hill.
Yeah, top Patrick's Hill. That one.
I'm not sure. I don't even know if there's a name on the park, but I know the area you're on about. Yeah,
brought her up there to have a look at the city. You know what I mean? Yeah, and then we went down towards the Marina Market area, and I bought a kind of a cake actually from one of the bakeries in Cork, because and we had that, and then she had to actually go to work. She was working at 11, so I dropped her off at work, and and then after that we met up a few times again, and then we kind of discussed a few things, and then I brought her. Then about I think it was a month later or something like that, or a couple of weeks later, it kind of became official. We went out on a date, and I asked her in my broken Portuguese to be my girlfriend, and that's how it went.
And that was the jackpot for her. The fact that you even tried to speak in Portuguese, right?
Yeah, I had it written down, and I was looking down at it. It's just pidgin Portuguese, I suppose.
Yeah, man.
But,
wow.
Because it was very good.
There's something you mentioned there, man, and it really is that idea of putting yourself out there.
Yeah.
And yes, we know our affirmation is from the Lord, and that's the place that we operate from.
Mm-hmm.
But like, sometimes you'll hear the attitude of lads like, oh yeah, my wife, she'll just show up, and they're like, yeah, but maybe she's in your circle of friends, but you're not, I suppose, exploring the options, or not decide. The options is a horrible term to use, but you know what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, I know what you're saying. Yeah,
like as men, you're in that pursuer role where you have to show interest and
you have to find out who's
the home.
Yeah, you have to find out, like, if you think this girl or lady or is suitable, So
that's right.
Not everyone is suitable, you know what I mean. So I suppose you have to do a bit of investigating.
Yeah, man. You went all CSI and
yeah. But you know what I'm saying, like. But I think, like, it's just like do your own, like, do it. It's kind of like you have to kind of do your own thing, you know what I mean. And if it's a no, it's no. It's not the end of the world. You just move on, The girl isn't interested or whatever, but there will be a girl that will be interested, you know what I mean.
Yeah, man.
You just keep going until that, and live. I think just not be afraid to talk as well. Like, just because you're talking to someone doesn't mean that, you know what I mean, that it's the deal is signed, you know what I mean. Because you won't find out if you like someone if you don't talk to them, you know what I mean.
Yeah, so that's right.
That's what I think. Not to be afraid to talk. Not to be afraid to talk to girls.
I'm just thinking here now, right? As a really cool way to close out the podcast episode, because you have gone through the dating experience, dating on dates, talking, getting to know her. What advice would you give guys? Because there's so many podcasts out there. There's so many books. There's so many sermons on dating and marriage and, different techniques to finding your Boaz and all this stuff. And look, some of them are helpful, but some of them are just stupid. Just because it worked for you at 18, that doesn't apply to me at 27. So what advice would you give, man, our listeners, the lads especially, you know,
Yeah.
they're single, they're looking for their wife, which is a God honoring thing. It's a God thing to want to aspire to have a wife. What advice would you give, man, the lads, if they see interest in someone, or should they slide into the DMs, or should they slide up to them in face to face, or what? How would you approach it?
Well,
The
I think
advice.
like I don't know. It depends. Like everyone has a different situation,
Yeah,
different kind of story. And like when I met Cassie, like I was like, I didn't know. It's an unknown territory for
yeah,
most people. You know what I mean? Some people might be experts, but it was an unknown territory for me. And if you know what I mean. And I was
yeah,
like, how do I do this? What steps do I take? What's the right way? What way
yeah,
do they do it in Portugal or in Brazil? What
yeah,
way do they do it? What's the right way as a Christian to do it? What way is in what way do they do it in Ireland? You know, all these questions. And I was like, but I think first thing is just not to be afraid to talk to people, not to be afraid to talk to ladies. You know what I mean? And just because
yeah,
you're talking doesn't mean, like I said, it's like you're and there's nothing solid. You know what I mean? But
yeah,
I think, just do it your own way. Be yourself, and the relationship will be about yourself and your partner. And
yeah,
it's not like every relationship is different. You know what I mean?
yeah,
So you can't really say there's a set way. But once you go and you have respect for the girl, and like that you're not talking like that, you're focused on her, is what I would say
yeah.
is the best thing. You know what I mean? That's
That's right.
my thing. And that you respect her. Put and if you're seriously, if you have serious intentions, make sure that you have those intentions and your intentions right in your mind as well. You know, that type of way.
Yeah,
That's what I
yeah,
think.
man.
But
Yeah,
like not too serious. Like don't make it too serious, but just enjoy it as well. Like just go for it and kind of take it step by step. I think
yeah,
just like
sure.
not hold on too tight, because it's what I found hard is like you say, oh yeah, and you feel like you really feel yourself going for it, but you kind of have to
Mm,
kind of say pull back small bit, and take it step by step, and let time do its thing as well. You know,
yeah,
that's what
man. Yeah, I love it, Nathan. Just even from listening to you, man, you have shared so clearly with us, and I suppose there is one word that just even as a way to close out the podcast episode that you've given the advice, and it really would be intentional. You know,
yeah,
be clear. Don't
yes,
don't take someone on this like monopoly board where it's a game, and depending on how the dice rolls, and
yeah,
trying to just kind of treat the person as an option rather than them as someone's future spouse, whether they're your spouse or your best friend's spouse. How
yeah,
differently
exactly.
would you treat them in the process, you know? So I definitely appreciate and admire the fact that you have spoken about that process in such
Mm.
a clear but a God honoring way, man. I really mean that. Thank you.
No, thanks. No, thanks. I appreciate you inviting me on, Jerry, as well.
Yeah,
It's an honor. And Jerry, you're a good friend as well. I just say it online. You know what I mean? It's
yeah,
important. You're a good man, and you're a loyal friend. That's something that I think is amazing about you. You know what I mean? You're loyal. You know what I mean? You're like a brother. You know, so
yeah,
appreciate it, man. And it's actually been a pleasure doing this podcast. Really enjoyed it. I know I was a
yeah.
little bit nervous at the start beforehand. You know, I was talking to you earlier, but when you get settled into it, like you could talk forever. You know,
That's right.
it
And
is.
that's what I want. That's what translates to our listeners, man. It's just two brothers talking. The only difference is the people listening get to tune in on the conversation. Do you know what I
Yeah,
mean?
that's
So
it.
it's been a
Exactly.
joy to have you as a guest, man. You, as I said, you've just finished a long day at work, and yet you've, well, most people zone out after work. They just want to watch movies or whatever, and there's nothing wrong with that. You've decided to jump straight onto a podcast after a busy day at work. So, man, that's
Yeah,
what
no
giving
hassle.
me honor for you, you know. So thank you
No,
so
not
much.
at all. My pleasure. No,
Yeah,
my pleasure.
brilliant.
Thanks, Jerry.
Guys, for those of you that have tuned into the episode again, thank you, thank you, thank you. I trust that what Nathan and myself have spoken about would be in some way of a help to you. I actually feel like I've got to know him all over again, and I suppose in a lot of ways deeper than I probably ever knew. There's some things that we've talked about on the podcast that we may not have spoken about in depth in person. So I'm encouraged by that, and I know you are as well. And for those of you that have listened, why not share with a friend, a family member, or a colleague, or whoever else, and spread the word about the podcast. And remember that hope is to life as oxygen is to the body. Till next time, take care and God bless.
Take care, folks.
Hey guys, thanks again for tuning in to another episode of the Hope Sessions podcast with me, Jerry D. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to this podcast wherever you're tuning into it from. This greatly helps to spread the word about the podcast, but also to encourage other people to check it out for themselves. Until next week, take care, God bless, and don't forget, hope is to life as oxygen is to the body. Take care.